It's Dave and Evelyn coming to you from the camera store after hours because we just got some exciting news.
Nikon just released the brand new Nikon ZR.
This is the Nikon ZR, and I'm pretty sure that the R is going to stand for red.
In fact, we know it stands for red because they actually put it in the back of the camera. It says Nikon and red, which is very cool.
Yeah, this is exciting. They just announced this, and this is finally, I think, the combination of having Red, which is a cinema brand, with their technology baked into a Nikon camera.
Now, it was exciting industry news when Nikon acquired Red not that long ago, and I was expecting maybe a couple more years we saw an actual product with listing them both. But this is a pre-production unit, but it's very exciting for Nikon.
Yeah, and this has some very compelling features, especially for cinematographers, for filmmakers. We're going to get into a lot of it, but first of all, we're just actually quite in shock by how aggressive Nikon is being on the price of this. And that's why we're saying we think this is really going to disrupt the market. We think that this camera is going to turn heads. And so let's get into some of the features. Let's talk about the design.
I mean, it's unlike any Nikon you've ever seen. And at first glance, it just looks, pretty boxy, pretty square. But something I appreciated right from the moment I got my hands on it was a giant screen on the back. In fact, we have a 4-inch screen on the back, which is really nice, big, and very bright.
Yes, this is 1,000 nits. It's a very bright LCD screen, and it's high resolution as well. It's 3.7 million dots, and yeah, I'm definitely noticing the benefits of having the larger screen. Even the menu system, everything is just a little bit bigger, and the color space on this is also incredible. So it's capable of having a P3 color space, so you can do HDR footage and really be able to see the look of what your footage is going to be like. The 4-inch screen also fully articulates to the side. Now, this doesn't leave a lot of room if you have things plugged into the inputs, but it is nice that you have the articulation if you are doing run and gun style video.
Yeah, now of course this camera is fairly lightweight. It's 1.19 pounds or 540 grams, so it is a very small package to work with.
Yeah, now I first noticed that this is definitely different. This camera is obviously designed to be optimized for cinema, for filmmaking. It doesn't really have a lot going on the photo side. Now, even down to this little toggle switch at the top of it, when you move it over to video, you have kind of this little color panel that pops up that's sort of this orangey red color. And when it's in photo, it's just black. Now, there isn't a PSMA dial. There isn't a lot of things that we're normally used to seeing in Nikon mirrorless cameras, but this definitely does give us some indicators that it is built for filmmaking.
Now, this is based on the Nikon Z6 III sensor, giving us great performance on a 24 megapixel, so you certainly can take pictures with it, but it's really designed for video.
Yeah, now the exciting thing about this sensor, which we've seen, as Dave said, in the Z6 III, is that it's a partially stacked sensor. So it's very fast scanning. It's capable of recording a lot of really great video formats, which we're going to get into soon. But before we do, I just want to touch on a few other things. With the build of this camera, it is definitely fairly boxy. There isn't a lot of grip to it. However, Nikon has told us that there is going to be a small rig partnership. So they're going to create an extra little cage that will have an additional grip piece to it and will make this really riggable. So really, again, for that cinema or filmmaking approach.
I mean, we are seeing that in the industry, period, right? The camera is sort of being put onto a gimbal or putting into a cage, accessorized a lot more, so the camera itself is more minimal.
Yeah, and that's going to give you more of your 1/4-20 threads to be able to attach lots of accessories, because on the camera, there's only the one 1/4-20 thread on the bottom of the unit. Now, we also notice on the side of the camera that we have some pretty basic ports here. We have a headphone jack, microphone jack, and we have a micro HDMI port and USB-C for charging. We don't have a full-size HDMI port, though.
Now, I was a little surprised by that. When Nikon talked to us about this camera, it was all about the size of this camera. Keep it really small, and there's some sacrifices to it. Now, it does come with dual memory cards, which I really am a big fan of. However, one of them is my favorite kind of card format, which is the CF Express Type B cards, and the other one is my least favorite memory card.
The micro SD card. And I get why it's Dave's least favorite card. I mean, they tend to be, they're really small, they're kind of easy to lose, they're a little bit more flimsy. You have to usually use an adapter if you have existing SD card readers, yada, yada, yada. But they are a very affordable format for memory. And you can record some video formats to it, but of course, any of the higher end RAW formats, those are only going to be able to be recorded to the CF Express Type B card. That also brings me to another point, that you aren't able to do redundancy recording doing through an SSD on this camera. So you really only have the one card that you're relying on. The good thing is those cards are very stable. And, you know, I think that with this camera, the compactness and the aggressive pricing on it, it is a sacrifice, but I think it's one that can be overlooked. And we're gonna get into one other feature, which is the weather sealing on this camera. This camera is very weather sealed, and that's very exciting. Now, the one thing that we're looking forward to testing in the future is the thermals on this camera, because it does not have a built-in fan.
No, so I mean, that's kind of a trade-off. I mean, I'm okay. I'd rather have a weather-sealed camera that's not going to overheat if they've been able to engineer it that way and take that, because chances are the smaller the camera, you're going to put into some more aggressive situations.
Yeah, now we didn't have too many issues with overheating with the Z6 III. The thermals on that camera seem fantastic. You know, the pairing of the processor with the partially stacked sensor, it seems to be a really good combination. So whatever Nikon is doing for their internal thermals seems to be working out okay. But of course, we would like to test that once we have a full production unit.
Well, let's talk about the basic controls of this camera, because it's unlike any Nikon that we've seen.
It is very different.
I mean, we do have the video photo switch, of course, and we do have a rocker switch, which is unique.
For power zoom lenses.
Yeah, I mean, Nikon does have the 20 to 135 power zoom lens, which I think is going to be very popular with this camera. But we have a 1, 2, and 3 customizable button here, which is for our display, our modes, and our exposure compensation by default. But we also have a few other buttons here, and these are all customizable. There's actually a dual recording button. There's one at the very front of the camera as well. So if you're rigging it up or you don't have access to the main bar or the main record button, you have an option down here.
I'm really enjoying the interface of this camera. On the back of it, it's a very simple design. We have a joystick, and then we have kind of this dual function menu button. So if you do a light press, it's going to bring up your quick menu, and if you do a longer press, it's going to open up your full Nikon menu that you might be familiar with if you're a previous Nikon user. The other thing is, on the touch screen, we have this little menu here that if you tap it, it's going to bring up all of your video assist tools. So in here, we have things like peaking, we have grid lines, we have a horizon line, we have zebra. We also have view assist, which we're going to get into a little bit more with how you can integrate your LUTs into your footage, and you can use that so you can see what your look is going to be like while you're shooting. And just a lot of really nice features that make this very comfortable for cinematographers and filmmakers to use.
Now, something I'm really happy about this camera is they kept the same battery used in the Z6 III, the ENEL15C. Now, you also can use it through USB-C, and if you want to use that USB-C as a webcam, you certainly can do that as well. Now, when we talk about the frame rates with this camera, we do have 6K 60, 4K 60, 4K 24, as well as 4K 120 with a crop.
I think the more compelling thing here, though, is the flexibility that we have with all the different RAW formats. So you can really work within the platform that makes the most sense for you. So first of all, we have NRAW. So if you're working with DaVinci Resolve, that's a really great format. We have ProRes RAW. So if you want to work with Premiere or Final Cut like we do, that's a really great option. And if you already work within the red code space, that's really fantastic because you now have R3D. So this red footage is really great to work with. It has great compression. It really holds a lot of dynamic range. And you do have to expose for it a little bit differently. And that's really where the base ISO is going to come into play here. But it's giving you a ton of flexibility for cinematographers and filmmakers to enjoy this camera and really flex and experiment with what's going to work best for them. I also love that with the view assist mode here, you can have 10 different LUTs baked into the camera. So right away we have 10 different red LUTs that are already in the camera, or if you want to change those up, download some different ones from Red or even put in some of your own, you have that option. It's really going to help you as a creator or as a cinematographer to put in the look of the footage that you want right out of the gate. You can choose to adjust your exposure with either shutter angles or the traditional shutter speed adjustment.
I mean, it is a packed full camera, so many features to it for those independent filmmakers, and at that price point, that's what I keep coming back to. I mean, at that price point, for the feature set they built into this, I'm pretty impressed.
Another big feature that we haven't talked about on this camera, but I think today especially is exciting to talk about, is in-body image stabilization.
I mean, the fact that we have 7.5 stops of stabilization in such a small body like this encourages people who are like adventure videographers to carry around less gear, because they can get away with not having to carry a gimbal with them if they don't need as much stabilization, because 7.5 stops is pretty impressive for a size like this.
Yeah, and we saw another camera being announced at the same time as this, same day, that does not have image stabilization built into it. And so I think this is where people are going to really have to decide what kind of camera is going to be best for them. There's always going to be features and benefits, and this has a lot of red benefits, I think. And so
we trademark that.
There's very good, compelling things that I think filmmakers are going to be excited about.
Now, something I really like about this is Nikon has the shortest flange distance of all the mirrorless cameras, which opens it up to all kinds of third-party lens options with an adapter. I mean, there's a lot of cinematographers out there who are married to a certain lens or a couple lenses that give them the look that they want. They're not necessarily concerned about the body as much. They're more concerned about the look they're getting from this lens. So if they can adapt it to their whatever current body they're shooting with, that's all the better.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, Nikon definitely doesn't have as many native third-party lenses as, say, a Sony E-mount, for example, but definitely having the ability to adapt like PL lenses and a lot of other cinema lenses out there, I think makes this a compelling option for sure. One of the things that we haven't talked about yet is the audio options on this camera. And it is, of course, crucial to any filmmaker's project is, are you recording good audio? Now, we have 3 built-in microphones that are going to give you pretty good out-of-camera audio, but the more exciting thing, I think, is having 32-bit float audio in this camera with a lot of different flexibility.
I mean, it doesn't matter how you plug audio into this camera, whether it's through the hot shoe or through the 3.5 jack on the side of the camera, you have the option for 32-bit float.
Yeah, even the internal microphones also are giving you 32-bit float. And this is going to be right in camera, baked into your footage. And so you are working with the best possible curves that we have out there so that you can have some really clean audio, especially if you're recording things like events, anything that has a lot of different range within the audio. You want to be able to adjust those curves so you get the best sounding audio in your final project.
Now, you've been talking about some of the benefits about this camera. One of my Dave-servations is,
oh my God.
is on the top of the camera. It's not the traditional Nikon attachment points for camera straps. So now there's no trouble at all if I want to put peak design, for instance, in there, which we've had trouble with certain Nikon cameras.
That's true. Yeah, that's a very good Dave-servation. Yeah, I think the build of this camera is really nice. I appreciate that it is a weather-sealed camera as well. And I think that compactness has definitely been achieved. It has a lot of different potential for rigging out this camera. I'm excited to see what Small Rig brings to the table with that new grip adapter, as well as having different cage options and that kind of thing. And I think overall this camera is going to turn heads. We can't mention enough that this price point really did surprise us when we heard about it, because it has a lot of features that we would expect in a camera at a much higher price point.
Yeah, I mean, all the different video formats and all the different log files, I mean, these are some really pro series benefits to this camera at a price point that is very affordable.
Yeah, of course, we have to mention again the image stabilization, the 32-bit float audio. These are things that professionals, I think, are really going to enjoy. And I mean, don't just get one, get 2. Because you pretty much could. Like, this is, you know, half the price of a lot of higher-end cameras that would have a similar spec list. But of course, we want to know, what do you think about this? Is this a camera that you find compelling? What do you think of the price point from Nikon, their aggressive approach? Let us know in the comments below.
And what do you think of the association with Nikon and Red together? Follow us both on Instagram.
And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's been Dave and Evelyn from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again very soon.